Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the workshop. Before we start the presentation, I really would like to thank Professor Dario Giordanelli and all the people involved in the organization of this very interesting project. It's a very big pleasure for me to be part of it. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Marcella Camponogara. I'm assistant professor at Prince Sultan University in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And today I will talk about the exhibition of the territory as a collective memory. This presentation and this work come from my PhD research that I did in Milan with Politecnico of Milano in 2018. And during my research, I worked and I studied the idea of narrative museum. The main topic was related about how we can create a strong connection with the visitors and the space of the exhibition that focus more and that can analyze the idea of identity, time, and space. Narration, it's a communication technique that expresses concept through metaphors, gesture, and images. So, working with a narrative exhibition system, from my point of view, means to find a way to create a strong connection and a strong identification that brings the spectator not to be just a passive actor in the exhibition system, but can activate him and can create a very strong sense of attachment to the topic that are in the exhibition. If we think about narration in our community as human beings, it's something that comes from the very, very past, and it's the way in which we were, as human beings, we were capable to understand understand ourselves and our role in the world. So, and how we can understand and we can communicate the idea that we have about ourselves and the place in which we live. So somehow it's at the base of the idea of the creation of a shared identity and also the creation of a collective memory. So something that it's not only related to ourself and the consciousness about ourselves, but how we can create a relationship also with our community and the spaces in which we live. In our days, we have a strong connection and a strong use of digital tools that can somehow recreate this idea of being part of a community, allowing us also to cross the barriers related to our own language or the exact space in which we are living in a specific moment of our life. So I try to identify different steps in this process that start, of course, from the need that we have to remember, to memorize, and to not forget about some events that are part of our past, of our cities, of our knowledge and our identity, how we can keep them and conserve them, how we can put more value in that, and how we can exhibit in them in order to create a shared memory and a strong feeling of global participation in the topic. Our identity are dynamic, and we can have different interpretation of who we are and which is our role in the world. And this idea of a multimedia language can give us the chance to tell a story that can be shared and can be understood from everybody all around the world. So it's somehow a very strong connection. It has a very strong connection with the oral tradition and can become also a key to give different interpretation and to upgrade the different level and the different meaning of the object that are exhibiting in a space. The virtual object, it's not something that is intangible, but it can become a real physical object that can allow us to activate not just our mind, but even our body, allowing us to be more engaged with the exhibition system in which we are. So this is somehow a way to change, to make a step from the contemplative museum, consider the usual exhibition system for museum of contemporary art, in which the spectator is just allowed to walk silently in a space without having any kind of physical interaction between with all the other objects that are in the space, to a performative museum in which the spectator is not only mentally but even physically engaged and become a real active part of the exhibition itself. It's a strong and complicated system in which we as designer, as architect, need to consider all the elements that are in the exhibition space. Of course, the object itself, the content, the space, the recipient, the concept, the storytelling, and the dramaturgy, in order to create a larger connection between all these elements together. This is something that is clearly working, especially when we consider the idea of narration in a age like the time in which we are living, in which we basically don't have any more physical barriers, in which we have a knowledge that can be spread all around the world, and which we can create stronger connection even um, with different identities, with different background, with different social status and connection. Of course, the participation of the spectator, it's an important action that we have to consider, but we have to consider the guest of our exhibition in the overall space and in a stronger relationship with all the other elements that are around us, around itself. We can work on an exhibition system that can improve the participation and the interactive collaboration, not just between the spectator and the space, but also between other spectators together, giving them in this way the chance also to make a moment of collaboration and confront, and in which we can share our view or our feelings with the other people that are around us. So it's another way to increase this idea about not being alone, but be always part of a community and of a bigger and larger system of people around us. The same idea goes also with the object itself that we want to exhibit. It's not just one object that we have to put in an exhibition space, but we have to be capable also to understand and to emphasize and to show what are all the um, inner meaning, all the different stories that this object can tell us. There is a nice quote by Franco Rosa, that was one of the founder of Studio Azzurro, one of the main and offices I work with during my research, that was saying, when if I have to put a vase in an exhibition, I don't want to just to show the vase, but I want to tell the stories of the hand that make the vase. So try to see and to exhibit what are the inner and maybe the hidden meaning, the hidden stories that are inside or behind the object we want to talk about. And this way we will be able to make our object talk. Of course, this it's the main way in which we can create stronger and deep connection between us, the object we want to exhibit, the memory we have to keep alive, and the story that we need to tell. When I was working during my project, I analyzed a lot of case study that were related to very different topic, uh, like museum related to war, to technology, to the territory, science, art, and so on. So if I have to describe what museums of narration want to talk about, I might say that they want to talk about identity and identities all together at the same time. I decided to show you some few sample of museums related about the exhibition of the territory, just to be more clear and to show you what are the most interesting strategies that I found during my research. The first case studies I'm gonna show you, it's a museum that actually had a very short life, because according to a different political assessment in the city in which was host, they decide to close the museum after just a couple of years of his life. This is also too important to understand how also the use of the memory can be a very strong political um, meaning, and how memory can be used or can be um, cancelled somehow according to the political or the economical needs of a city. In this case, we can see how the main set for the exhibition was the space itself in which the story of the city was told. So it's interesting from my point of view, the connection that we can find between the object itself that is hosting our narration and the documents and the materials that we want to show to the public. There is an interesting combination between the use of all the materials that are put in the exhibition, starting from the ancient maps, so from a geographical representation of the city, until the presentation and the voices of the most important people that lived in the same place. A similar idea and similar method for the exhibition were part of the museum Montagna in Movimento, again done by Studio Azzurro, in which once again the main objects of the exhibition were directly projected into the same into the object that was the main topic of the exhibition, that was hosting the exhibition, but that it's becoming at the same time support and living material for the projection. I already mentioned the use of the map, and it's interesting how we can see and how we can understand how the territory has changed during the time. And this project I'm showing you, this idea is designed through a digital living map in which the people are passing by and they are walking, and meanwhile they are walking on the map itself, they can see the different transformation of the boundaries of the landscape and the different changement, political and physical, that the area got during the past. There are also some physical way to represent, to give a more specific idea and representation of the landscape. This is the Archaeology Switzerland National Museum in Zurich, in which the main reconstruction and the shape of the landscape and on the territory are both represented through physical object and also through digital representation, and also through the exhibition setting of the painting that during the ancient time, during the age, were describing the territory, the landscape, and the territory itself. There are other interesting mixing and matching way to put together physical and digital object. And the picture that I am showing now, there is a physical representation of the city of Chemnitz in Germany, that it's in a suspended part of the museum, so that can be seen by the spectators through all different points of view. And again, meanwhile, the spectator, it's moving and it's walking through the different floors of the building. He has the chance to see and to understand how the territory has changed in the past through the projection of some digital maps on the physical maquette of the territory. There are also some way to create interesting point of view and interesting landscape tools that can emphasize the presence of the museum or of a specific focal point in the territory that we want to emphasize, and in which we want to um, we need to create a sort of landmark to help the visitors also in the orientation and in the understanding and the creation of connection, mental connection and physical and visual connection between the map and the two-dimensional data and the physical space itself. Even these museums work with the combination between uh, ancient documents, physical documents, and projection that are animated and that can help the visitors in order to understand in a more immediate way the story that the museum and the exhibition is talking about. The combination, the work that strategically work mostly, is to combine physical and digital object all together in the same space, and work with map, visual and physical models and visual representation in order to allow the guest to have a more immediate and a more practical and easy understanding of uh, the data and the images and the knowledge that and the stories that are told to the visitor. Another way that it's very interesting to work with this topic, it's the relationship between it's the chance that we can give to make more personal. So many time in many situations we will have the chance to have the story told by the direct a character that lived and that can give the testimony, the real testimony of some events that happened. In many situations, we are talking about facts that happened long time ago in the past. So maybe we have no more the real voice and the real people that were part of these events. But again, through the technological tools, we can somehow recreate and reanimate and bring these voices back to life again. Here there are some few samples about how we can use the combination between physical and digital tools in order to tell the story in through different perspective and in a more immediate way. And also how we can ask to the visitor to touch some object or to activate this mechanism and this more animated way of telling the story of the territory we're talking about, and see and activate the physical evolution of the landscape just through the touch with our hands on a digital board that can activate the sensor and can modify the model that is showing the evolution of the territory. I was talking about the importance of having a more um, direct relationship and how this can make us more engaged and can create a stronger connection and a feeling of be part of the story that we are listening to. So this is the Museum of the Resistance. It's talking about the Second World War and the role of the partisan in a small town in Italy. It's interesting that in this museum we have, of course, the pictures of the time, the normal kind of documents that we see in this kind of exhibition normally, but we have also the chance to listen, to see the face and to see the story, the real stories of the people that were part of this event. And this is, again, it's a very interesting way to keep the memory alive, to not allow the stories of these people that won't be longer alive for for uh, for many years, but their story and their voices will always be alive, will always be part of the memory that they can share, that they wanted to share with us. The last case studies I would like to talk about, it's a little bit different from the one that we have seen. This is not part of my research, was not one of the case study, but it's one of the museum in the place in which I'm living now. It's the Riyadh. There is the ancient foundation part of the city of Riyadh here in Saudi Arabia, and we have this strong complex of ruins that are becoming a museum in our day. So it's interesting that the wall of the city, the facade of the ancient buildings become an interesting layout for projection and for engaging decorational material and projection of light. But at the same time, we have also the chance through more specific projection to understand what was the old use, the ancient use of each building. And we have the recreation of the activities that were done in this spaces. It's interesting also that we have this combination again between visual participation and physical participation. So through the design of some specific pathway, the visitor is guided to take a tour and can take a physical tour all around the old cities, and in each space he will have the chance to see and to understand the use and the activities and the stories that this building can tell us. Then can also be used as a more big and emphatic reconstruction of the main stories that and the battle and the evolution of the landscape and the story of the place. I hope you enjoyed this small presentation in
وبدأ بمحاصرة مناطق الدولة السعودية الأولى واحدة تلو الأخرى. وبعد 7 سنوات من المعارك الشرسة بمناطق الدولة، انتصر في بعضها وخسر بعضها الآخر.
case you want more detailed information or question, this is my email address, and I really thank you for your time and your patience, and thank you so much, and I wish you a good job for the workshop and good luck to everyone.